Martial exit looking inevitable now. He's been out of the squad for 5 weeks with this illness, and it's been confirmed by multiple sources he is in discussions with Fenerbahce. Ten Hag and Sancho are set to have a meeting before Sancho leaves on loan. Ten Hag wants to meet with Sancho, have a discussion with him. Is that the reason behind the hold-up between Man U and Dortmund for Sancho's loan? Is Ten Hag having second thoughts? Could there be an apology there? Or is it probably to do with the fee and the percentage of wages involved, which is most likely, plus the fact that United are very slow? What is the latest transfer news on Police Street, Jadon, Branthwaite, and more? We've got a bit of takeover news about INEOS' plan to inject some cash into Manchester United, among many stories. So do hit that like button if you have not already, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. Let's dive into our first story on Martial. So it's been said a few times over the last few days, lots of reports coming out, Turkish sources saying that Fenerbahce is sort of looking at Martial. They have a good relationship with United, and Man United have always had a good relationship with Fenerbahce. They've often brought a lot of our players. And it said that Fenerbahce are trying to use their great relationship with Manchester United to complete a deal for Anthony Martial in the coming days. Considering Martial wasn't in the squad yet again, and this must be the 6th or 7th game in a row where he's not been in the squad, that I personally don't believe he's ill anymore. I think he's not in the squad because he's probably leaving, is probably why. Same with like Dan Gore not being in the squad. He's likely to go out on loan. I think that's why there's so many young players in the squad, because Ten Hag knows a lot of players are set to leave in January, and I think Martial's probably on the way out. And Fenerbahce are one of the few clubs that might be able to afford somewhat of his wages. It was said that Fenerbahce are in negotiations to sign Martial on loan, and the reason I have a problem with this is, well, Martial's got 6 months left on his deal. Why are you trying to sign him on loan? He's going to leave for free in the summer anyway. I'd rather almost have Martial till the end of the season as backup for Højlund than let Martial go out on loan and bring in Choupo-Moting, because it just makes no sense. What, like, surely we should be able to get 5-6 million for Martial now. Honestly, just 3-4 million for Martial now, or we'll just keep him to the end of the season, play him, unless he's got unless him and Ten Hag have got issues, which there was a reported rumour that him and Ten Hag sort of weren't on great terms, and after, but I don't know if that rumour was just made up because his body language in the Newcastle game wasn't good, and I think it's easy to make up rumours based off body language, but I think a loan when you're losing for free in the summer is crazy, so hopefully we do get a bit of money for him, but it's Manchester United, you never know. Now, going into the Jadon Sancho story, it was said by Sport that Manchester United expect Jadon Sancho to have a few words of clarification with Erik Ten Hag before he leaves for Borussia Dortmund on loan. And a few sources have said this. I believe Sancho will go to Borussia Dortmund on loan. I believe the reason it's just being stalled is because of Man United want to slow, and they're just negotiating what percentage of wages each party is going to play. Man United don't want to include a buyout clause. Obviously, the fee, Man United want to get a 4 or 5 million loan fee. Dortmund are probably going to mug us off and pay back 2 million loan fee. That's, I believe, the reason it's delayed. But it said that Erik Ten Hag actually wants to have a conversation with Sancho and just speak to him. I wouldn't say so much clear the air. Erik Ten Hag still with the stance of, you've got to apologise to me, but have a conversation with Sancho about his loan and what he wants from him, potentially him to have a good loan, and would he be willing to come back in, and all of this and that. I mean, Sancho, ultimately, apparently his plan is he still wants to beat United. He wants to go to Dortmund for 6 months to revive his career and then do well at United. I don't know if that's because he's on 350k a week, or I don't know if that's because he thinks Ten Hag's going to be sacked, or I don't know if he plans to make up with Ten Hag next season. But it is I'm at the point with Sancho where if you're willing to miss 4 months of this season when we've needed you and we've had right-wing issues because you don't want to apologise to the manager, no matter how good you could be and no matter how crap Anthony is, it's like I just don't want him near the squad. I would rather just go for a right winger and sell him and get a bit of money. Now, in regards to other transfer news going about, a player I do want, and it has massively grown on me this season, is Jadon Branthwaite of Everton. Been unbelievable for them. It said that Real Madrid, United and Tottenham are interested in signing him. I reckon he'll be very overpriced, and maybe there'll be better value for money options out there, but from what I've seen, he's looked very good. He was very good for England youth level. He's been very good for Everton this season. Looks very, very promising. 2-footed, physically can do it all. I think long term that would be a good centre-back for Man United to look at and potentially bring in. In terms of other news, it was said by Simon Jones that Erik Ten Hag wants an experienced striker to help guide his younger players, which has been said. And I think once Sancho and Martial go, I think the striker links will heat up, potentially looking at Rafa, Choupo-Moting, Guirassy and more. And then we've also got Fabrizio Romano saying that PSV have approached Manchester United over a loan deal for Facundo Pellistri, and negotiations starting with LA Galaxy also. They want to submit a payment transfer proposal soon. It looks like Pellistri is going to leave United, and that is because Ten Hag views Ahmad higher, which is fair enough. I like Pellistri. I would rather him play than Anthony, but ultimately I don't think Pellistri will be United level. I think he will do more than Anthony, but I don't think he'll be United level. And I think you've got to choose really between one of Ahmad and Pellistri now. Ahmad is back, and Ahmad potentially is the better player with the higher ceiling. Now diving into the transfer news, the takeover news segment of today's live stream. So in terms of takeover news, Jack Talbot said this: Sir Jim Ratcliffe will look to fortify Manchester United's financial position this year by injecting personal funds into the club. Ratcliffe has a vision that involves building a strong British core within the squad, particularly under the age of 25. The emphasis is not only on homegrown talent, but also acquiring Premier League proven players, believing a mix of both will strengthen the club's position for the immediate and distant future. So it's been said two things. Ratcliffe will want to invest funds in the club, and Ratcliffe has a vision of building a strong British core, which we've spoken about before on the channel. It's been reported before. Ratcliffe, and there was a rumour going about that Ratcliffe will inject a certain amount of funds that can give Manchester United a transfer budget of £90 million more this summer than what would have been. So normally the transfer budget would probably be about 180 million, 200 million. Ratcliffe could take that budget to nearly 300 million. I would take that with a pinch of salt. Actions speak louder than words, but that was reported by other sources a couple of weeks ago, and it's been reported by many people that his plan is that sort of age 21 to 26 age bracket, British core with Premier League proven players, because he believes that is sort of the transfer strategy and the way for United going forward. I mean, I think there's always some brilliant gems in the Bundesliga, in League in Serie A. I think you've got to look for them. I think personally, while I think it's good to go for Premier League proven players and English players here and there, I think English players particularly, they always seem to be like 20 million more than they're actually worth. Like, I really like Jadon Branthwaite, but because he's English, he'll probably go for 70 million instead of maybe the 45 million that he would go for if he's Spanish. That's sort of the problem with going for English players, is you've got to be careful budget-wise. Now, enough of the takeover news because it's a little bit repetitive. Let's dive into 5 things we learned from Man United 2, Wigan 0. Wigan Man United wasn't the most important game, wasn't the biggest game, so I am looking to keep the 5 things we learned very short and sweet. So starting with the first thing we learned, that Kobbie Mainoo is special and undroppable. You cannot drop Kobbie Mainoo. He is the first name on the team sheet at the moment. Every game he's played in, he's been comfortably the best player. 8 tackles and 10 duels won in his game versus Wigan. Kobbie Mainoo is known for his ability in possession, how composed he is at retaining the ball, keeping the ball, passing the ball, moving the ball, the way he always makes himself available to get the ball. And we're always praising how good Kobbie is in possession, how he's always getting the ball, and he's so much more mature in possession than his other teammates. He doesn't panic. But today he put in a shift. Yesterday he put in an absolute shift. Defensively, was head and shoulders above the rest of the squad again, but defensively he was everywhere. When our corners were so crap that it resulted in Wigan counter-attack, Mainoo is there, and he's really been good defensively, covering ground, winning duels, putting tackles in. And you've got to remember, he's playing as a lone 6 with no support, and lone 6 isn't even his natural role, which highlights how good he is. The second thing we learned is that Garnacho was brilliant at right wing. He's probably our best right wing option over Anthony and Pelistri. Maybe Ahmad is more of a natural right winger, but right now, Ahmad's only just coming back. And I think Garnacho has played 2 games in his whole career at right wing, and he's done more than Anthony has this season. I feel like he's brought more threat than any of the other wingers. Even Rashford, who's out of form, I feel like the threat always comes from Garnacho in attack. He's the only sort of guy that's bringing some threat to United right now. And he had a very good performance and was very unlucky not to get a goal or assist. I think he created 2 or 3 big chances, so really should have had at least 2 assists from how he played, and was unlucky not to score it at the crossbar. He's very good. And what I like about Garnacho is he's very direct and he always makes things happen. What's been frustrating me about Rashford at the moment is he gets the ball and he takes too many touches when he could just get the ball, take a touch, lay it onto Delon, making the overlap, or take a touch, cut in. It feels like Rashford's overthinking it and taking too many touches. Anthony takes way too many touches, and I like Garnacho that he's direct and makes things happen. The one thing I noticed, and this is the third thing I learned, is that the McTominay role, I think, is causing Højlund issues, and I think Charlie explains it better than me. He said, feels like Højlund and McTominay are attacking the same spaces, which is a little awkward at the moment, attracts 2 defenders towards the goal, which makes space hard to come by, need to work on arriving into different spaces, in my opinion. Every time McTominay arrives into the box crushing midfielder, he's almost going into Højlund's position, and because he's going into Højlund's position, people will be critical of Højlund for this, but he's taking Højlund's chances. There was 2 times the ball would have fallen to Højlund, it fell to McTominay and he missed. McTominay needs to arrive into the box, but maybe not into the exact same position that Højlund's going to be. It needs to be worked on, because not only is McTominay not helping the midfield, but I think he's just making Højlund's job and Højlund's role harder for him. Not making excuses, because Højlund should have scored yesterday, but McTominay should have scored 4, Højlund should have scored 2. Talking about that, the fourth thing we learned is that we need more goals from the front 3. We created chances, but the front 3 are not producing enough in the final third at all. Højlund should have had 2 goals, McTominay should have had 4 goals, and Rashford just overthinking it. Garnacho did the job, but Delon had to show them how to finish, and then Bruno got a penalty. We're not scoring. We could have been 4-5-0 up. It's Wigan. We should really be winning that game 4-5-0, but we didn't take our chances, and we've got to be more clinical, because it's going to cost us in the bigger games. And the fifth and final thing I thought that we learned from the Wigan game is that Johnny Evans is playing well at the moment. Another good game by Johnny Evans. I noticed that he stepped up from defence and almost went into midfield a bit and actually got quite far up the pitch and helped us massively going forward. I thought that his leadership was much needed. I think Evans and Moran had a good game, but I think every game Evans has had in a Man United shirt, he's been very solid, he's been very good. While Man United should have never signed Evans because it highlights how disgraceful we are as a club, none of that is an issue with Evans. I've always liked Johnny Evans. I said, look, I don't have a big issue with him coming, but it's a disgrace for Man United to be signing a 36-year-old centre-back instead of Kim Min-jae. But I have to say, Johnny Evans has been more impressive than Lindelof this season. He's not put in a bad shift. And for me, he's a good guy to have in the squad and be involved in the squad as well. Anyway, people, please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Thank you for watching today's news roundup. See you next time. Bye.